We have the introductory speech by Julian and G. So thank you very much, Julian, and I leave you the floor in a few minutes. Then we will have Urs, that you already know very well, from Liverpool Hope University. Claudio Mennecozzi, who is from the European Digital Innovation Hub, that maybe you know, and he will explain what the activity is. And Iván Bornacelli from OECD. I will change the order because I think it's better to change in some way the order. Let me mention as last one Marija Radosalievic, who is from the University of Niš. She's coordinating a Horizon Widera project, which is an Horizon project designed for the collaboration between EU countries and Western Balkan countries. And the project is the Use IPM that you see there. And it's also on entrepreneurship education. Yesterday we had a nice workshop on discussing with the partners who are here about entrepreneurship education. So I say to the panelists that you will have just one chance for one round because I want to take also questions or involve the audience. So you know that then also Giovanni will explain. You have the chance to put questions or ideas on so that in case I will ask the panelists to react to the questions and issues raised by the audience. But now, Julian, please, the floor is yours. You may use this one.
Yes. Can I use this? No?
No, ma c'è lui preferisce.
Perfect. I prefer to move. I will try my best. Okay, well, I hope you are all sufficiently caffeinated now and 2 years younger if we go by Professor Urs's definition of caffeine, making us younger. So let's plow on straight away into session 2, which is all about entrepreneurial education. I'm Julian, the CEO of the Warnborough Worldwide Educational Group and the immediate past president of the International Vocational Education and Training Association, or IVETA. I know it's a mouthful, right? So what I would like to do with this introduction is to start a conversation about what entrepreneurial education is. So those of you, and I know there's some French people here, know that entrepreneur comes from two words, entre and preneur, which is to basically undertake something. And then in the late 18th century, 19th century, the word entrepreneur became quite popular as a way of saying to take on a project, usually with some risks, and try and make it a success. And I think that's what most of us know entrepreneurs as today, to start a business, okay? But if you ask yourselves, are we already teaching this? Are we already doing a lot of this? Well, actually, we're going to look at what entrepreneurial skills cover. It's more than just starting a business. Now, the European Union have created an entrepreneurial skills framework, or Entrecom, which comprises of 3 areas and 15 competences. The first key area is to be able to identify and develop ideas and opportunities so that you can mobilize resources in order to take action and create something that is meaningful and worthwhile. So then, we've just established that entrepreneurial skills is not solely about starting a new business. In fact, it is about cultivating creativity, adaptability, resilience, and having the ability to take initiative, to do something, to achieve results. And all of these things here that I've circled are what we would now see as core entrepreneurial skills. So, you ask, being in education, do we really need to teach this? Common sense says yes. Well, common sense says no, but actually we've seen in reality that we do actually need to teach it, because if we look at the statistics, 95% of European SMEs want workers with the right skills. And skills in inverted commas refer to entrepreneurial skills. 63% of employers have put down this phrase, entrepreneurial mindset, as a keyword or key phrase when they are advertising jobs. So if you are looking for a job and you see this, what does it mean? If you're a teacher, are you teaching your students to have this entrepreneurial mindset? Then 88% of employers believe that, this is the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report. And it's believed that 88% of entrepreneurial skills are essential for the future workforce. And finally, a UNESCO study has found that 80% of universities around the world have already started embedding entrepreneurial skills into their curricula. Well, I don't know if this applies to your institution or not, but we should see. So back to the World Economic Forum, these are the top 5 skills by 2030 that are required. And if you look at a lot of these things, they're not necessarily academic traditionally. However, those 4 words that I showed you before, they link quite nicely to these. So we're looking for entrepreneurial skills. So the question is, why do we need to integrate entrepreneurial education into our curricula? Well, it says it there. It's a way to transform your learning and to boost engagement with all the stakeholders around you. And if you have that ability to problem solve, you also have the ability to motivate yourself. So that makes you a lot more employable. And as mentioned in the first session, we are faced with so many contingencies in our world today, with wars, with economic situations, migration, etc., etc. These are all very important skills for us to have. And my colleague from the OECD there will probably say that they have a study that shows that students are 3 times more likely to show initiative, 2 times more likely to collaborate with each other, and significantly more likely to show resilience when they are facing setbacks if they have entrepreneurial skills. So let's look at some simple case studies and start with Finland, which everybody seems to like to put at the top of the pedestal as the place to emulate in terms of education. Well, they have a very integrated approach to entrepreneurial education. Basically, they start from the bottom all the way to the top, okay, even through vocational education. And the emphasis is on having an entrepreneurial mindset. Remember, this is the word that appears 60% plus in job advertisements today. So that is quite interesting. And they focus on applying the skills that they have learned to real world challenges. And what is more interesting about this is they actually have a very supportive ecosystem. So nothing is happening in a vacuum. They have buy-in from different types of disciplines and industries. So these are just some examples of the success. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I want to draw you to the last one, in that Finland was ranked the #1 country in the world by the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor for having entrepreneurial skills in its educational system. Now, let's go east to India and have a look at how they embed entrepreneurial education. Well, it's interesting. Their focus is actually to use entrepreneurial education to address unemployment. So they are linking it to the idea of creating, to have job creators, not job seekers. So that's quite an interesting flip around. And they actually link it to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, in particular 4.4, which focuses on vocational education and training. The skills focus that they want is also linked more to actually starting businesses. So they want people to have business acumen, to be able to problem solve, to actually have those human skills, as mentioned by Blendy earlier, that they can communicate effectively with all their stakeholders, and also to tackle the fear of failure. This is an important point because a lot of people don't do or don't start things because they are afraid of failing. So if you take away that fear, then maybe people are more interested to invest their time and energy in something new. And this is very important. Their government of India is very committed to actually creating an ecosystem that is supportive of new enterprises. So these are just some of the examples of success. And look, they've got an entrepreneurial mindset curriculum. Okay, now let's come a bit further back to the west and to the south, to Rwanda. They took on a whole system approach to curriculum development. But I'm not sure how true that is because actually they only started to embed mandatorily entrepreneurship education from high school level. But they are focused primarily on empowering their young people and women. So this is more about accessibility and inclusivity in education for them. So they depend heavily on non-governmental organizations and charities to help them carry these things out. So in the case of these two NGOs that you see up there, their job is primarily to train teachers so that they can carry out courses that train entrepreneurial skills. And Rwanda has taken a leaf out of India's book by not only copying them, but actually working actively with them to develop new entrepreneurs. And these are some of the success stories. Women that have undergone an entrepreneurial skills education are 88% more likely to become employed. So what are the impediments? I think, can you hear me without this? No, it's better because this is a bit temperamental. There are some, of course, impediments to having success when you try and put this into your curriculum. I wouldn't say they are terrible impediments, but they are useful to know about. And the first one really is all about policies. You cannot have a joined up approach if left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. So you really need to try and combine your policies for education together with labor and industry. And you have to give people incentives to want to do this, right? And then, of course, when you're talking about schools, you have to talk about curriculum and pedagogy. So you have to look at a whole system integration. Just putting it in at the secondary school level maybe is not enough. And I think the big problem for a lot of schools is not having enough experiential learning. So you can talk about it, but it's much better to actually do it and learn from that doing. For me, this is the biggest bugbear, because a lot of teachers are sort of forced into putting something in because of policy when they don't actually understand what they're supposed to be doing. We see a lot of this in African countries. I've been fortunate enough to work in a lot of African countries, and this is often brought in wholesale by the ministries of education, and then the teachers don't have the resources, don't have the know-how, and don't know what the actual outcomes should be. And a lot of teachers don't like uncertainty because they are assessed on certainty. So they are in very rigid circumstances. They have to prepare lesson plans with clear outcomes, etc., etc. So when you tell them, oh, we want to teach them to have initiative, we want to teach them to be creative, how can the teachers themselves be creative? It's harder to be that. And if we're talking about regional development, as was mentioned in the first session, a lot of developing countries will fall behind more developed nations because they just do not have the resources available, or the funding to have the resources, or the ability to know how to use these resources. Okay? So this significantly makes it more difficult for developing nations to reach the level of what would be optimal. And there are also cultural and social factors about support. I mean, I do a lot of work in vocational education, and how often is it that parents say to their children, oh, you didn't manage to get into university? Never mind, there's a tech school around the corner. Like we are the second poor cousin. So I think we need to look at that as well. And there's again the fear of failure and the stereotypes regarding the roles of women, for example, in some developing countries. It's okay to be a teacher or a nurse, but don't try and become a doctor or an engineer. And okay, we talked about the ecosystem. That's very important to make sure we have a joined up approach. So we ask, what more can we do to have entrepreneurial skills in our education? Well, all of the above we have to address. And then I think we need to look at access and inclusion, because technology is one of those ways that can help us to reach places that would be hard to reach. But technology costs money, and it costs time and investment. Investment in terms of human resources and the knowledge of how to actually run that stuff. So one of the ways that we could look at is to have peer-led and local community hubs. So if you cannot have it in every single school, in every location, maybe create centralized areas where people can come together, okay? And of course, we need to include more women and minorities in our initiatives. And why not integrate local languages and contexts? Because otherwise, I remember this, when I was teaching in one of the African schools, and the university in Africa gave me a case study and said, let's teach business skills to this group. And they gave me a case study on Google. And I said, do these people even know what $1 million looks like, let alone $500 billion? You have to give them a context they can understand. So I said to them, okay, I have $100 and I want you to set up a small little shop by the side of the road to sell your food. They can understand that, but then don't try and compare it with Google's 500 billion turnover, because it makes no sense to them. And this is really important. We need to make sure that we have the people that can go out there to do the work. And one of the ways is train the trainers so that they go out and train others, because you can't physically be there to train every single person. And it's so important that we have this event, the Tibet Alliance Summit, because this is why all of you are here as key stakeholders from your regions. We need to collaborate more often and with each other, because we can learn from each other and also use our abilities and resources to help each other. And with the students, why not motivate and inspire them? Give them challenges, hackathons, competitions in schools to try and get them to be creative and see some form of result. Now we come to the game changer in all of this, artificial intelligence. Now, you're going to think that I'm a doomsayer from the next few points I make, but this research is very new, May 2025. So in this research by Axios, they found that 90% of students, particularly in tertiary level institutions, have used ChatGPT for university work. 25% of high school students have already admitted to using it for their assignments. From the teacher's perspective, they've noticed a 59% increase in cheating, and teachers who have been told to teach AI in their schools have said that, well, 56% of them have said they are absolutely not ready to do that because they don't even understand it themselves, etc., etc. But the most common point that is being brought up is that there is no clear consensus on how to resolve artificial intelligence, the use of artificial intelligence in schools. But my point is not about this. My point is, we're talking about teaching our students to be creative, to take initiative, etc., etc. My question to you all is, if we are so dependent on AI to answer all and any of our questions, how does that make us creative? So my final thoughts are that entrepreneurial education is very, very important because it helps us to build resilience in ourselves to take on challenges and self-belief and self-esteem. And it empowers our youth to take on initiative and do things for themselves and to help them shape their own futures. Again, this is not about creating jobs or businesses, but it is about creating value for the people, the future leaders in our communities, because they are the ones that are going to go out there and lead our countries one day. So we need to make sure that they are not leading our countries using ChatGPT, but by themselves. So let's all try and embed more entrepreneurial education across all our education and training initiatives. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Julian, for this, for me, very interesting and even inspiring introduction. I very much agree about the approach you are proposing. And indeed, I already said, one of our programs for entrepreneurship education is targeting teachers, professors, not students. So changing the way they teach to if you want to stimulate students to be creative and building an entrepreneurial mindset. So thank you very much. And also for the questions you raised about artificial intelligence. We will have a specific session tomorrow about that, addressing the use of AI in education. So it's very, very important. I said that I will slightly change the order because I will hear now, I think it's Iván Bornacelli and then Claudio Mennecozzi, because you are introducing the perspective of from one side, the importance of entrepreneurship education in general for the labor market, for the skills in general, and Claudio about the role of entrepreneurial skills for SMEs. And then I will go back to the role of universities, asking Marija and then Urs to talk. So please, Iván, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Donato, Julian. Thank you so much for.
Just you are asked, but you know, to raise questions or ideas that we can then pick up for discussion.
Thank you. Well, I want to be very brief, trying to follow such insightful presentation from Julian. Thank you so much. I want to first try to focus on, let's say, the other side of the coin. It's more on what are the potential impact that entrepreneurial skills may have on the labor markets and looking at labor market outcomes as such. But first of all, I want to highlight a recent work that we have conducted at the OECD Center for Skills. I'm part of a big group that works on these matters. And we have conducted a research on skill-first approaches and the impact that it has on empowering the workforce. First of all, allow me to define what is exactly a skills-first approaches. These days, given the global trends, AI, green transitions, demographics, how people are learning, how people are engaging to informal learning, non-formal learning, and even formal learning, and also how labor market requirements are evolving so fast, it demands a different approach. It demands a way to cope with this fast evolving way of engaging with education and training. So rather than only focusing on the degrees and the titles that people have, why don't we try also to translate those degrees into what people can actually do, which are skills and competences. In this project, what we do is to use LinkedIn data and all from the supply side, but also from the demand side, we look at vacancy, online job posting vacancies. And what we see is that from the demand side, employers are highlighting more skills than degree in order to obtain or to get the people that they are looking for different reasons, because they can spot more rapidly what they need. They can articulate better what the people are offering to the skill requirement that they have, and so on and so forth. On the supply side, we see as well that more people are engaging with micro-credentials. Now that lifelong learning is becoming more relevant, people are not only engaging with formal education, either university or training, they're also, throughout their life, they are obtaining informal learning that has been developed through the work environment or short training programs, micro, macro credential, so on and so forth. So this dynamic and these changes on how people and employers are, let's say, evolving in the labor market, it requires to understand exactly what are the skills that employers are requiring, and what are the skills that individuals are highlighting. And something that is very much related to our discussion, and I'm moving towards there, is that from the demand side, employers, 2/3 of the skills that are posted on online job vacancies are related to entrepreneurial and transversal skills. And the other side is more the technical and specialized skills. So this is important. Employers these days are looking for individuals that they have the entrepreneurial and transversal skills. On the supply side, what we see on LinkedIn data is that people highlight entrepreneurial skills and more business and specialized skills, those that are more related to, let's say, to the technical matters, such as, let's say, research, medical knowledge, or more specific to the field, are also highlighted. So these two components just give us the following information: is that these skills, regardless the field, regardless the occupation, are becoming more relevant in the labor market. And then my last point is on a very interesting study case that we also helped to develop, focus on the US mainly because of the data availability, and is regarding what is the effect that signaling skills has on the labor market. What we found is that individuals who, or let's say people who are on LinkedIn and highlight skills rather than the degree only, they have a reduced gap in they have a lower unemployment gap than those that they don't highlight the skills. Now, let me jump into the topic specifically. We found that those that highlight disruptive skills, and let me define what disruptive skills, those that are related to AI or emerging technologies, are the ones who are facing or are having the most benefits of highlighting those skills and having reduced employment gaps. But the interesting thing is that the skills bundle, meaning the combination of disruptive skills with transversal entrepreneurial skills, meaning people highlighting this combination of skills, they have lower employment gaps. This is an interesting factor. This is an interesting element, is that those, I want to use the terms that earlier, I forgot his name, but from the youth conseiller, yes, he mentioned the human skills, which are very correlated to the entrepreneurial ones, are the ones that are making the difference in the labor market, reducing employment gaps and increasing the chances to be employed. I want to close with that, and happy to receive any question and even discuss afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Claudio, from the European Digital Innovation Hub.
Thank you. Thank you, Donato, for your kind introduction, and welcome, and happy to be here. Thank you for having me. Today here I'm representing EDI for Market, which is EDI stands for European Digital Innovation Hub. For those of you who don't know what this organization represents, this is a European funded initiative. It's a territorial network of incubators, basically, where the local organization are helping the local companies and enterprises to be better at their digital innovation journey. So what we do basically is working shoulder by shoulder every day inside the companies and enterprises that we have on the territory, and we help them with designing an innovation path, and we help them with assessing their digital maturity. We help them aligning the strategy of the company with the digital innovation strategy, and we help them with training of it. Being a European initiative and being, very much related to what happens on the ground and in the territory, we are especially interested also in establishing connections with the other hubs that are around us. So we have a stable table with the Adriatic, Ionian macro region and the hubs being part of the region. We are constantly in touch with them, exchanging lesson learned, best practices, and methodology. What I will tell you about today, it's obviously not the Copernican revolution in terms of entrepreneurship training, but it's an approach that will tell you a little bit more about the practical side of the thing, when it comes to working on the ground within a company, inside the nitty-gritty of the daily tasks that company nowadays will have to face. So what we find when we start a project with one of our, with our stakeholders is that entrepreneurs nowadays are more and more focused on what brings revenue to them, right? And who can blame them for that? I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? If they don't have revenues, that their companies will probably not exist. But since we are living in a world that is more like my fellow panelists said before, we are more and more living in a world that is ambiguous, that is volatile, that is changing very fast. There is a term that describes this as this VUCA. Yeah, this is the never normal type of reality we are living. That is especially affecting the small and medium-sized industries and enterprises, because this type of organization have less margin, are more fragile, and it's more difficult for them to be on the edge of the innovation, because they don't have the ability and the space to invest in a formal approach on training and an organized approach on developing the skills internally, or they don't have the ability to invest huge amount of money on buying the latest technologies. So that's why our work with them is particularly important, because we support them. We offer them, for example, the chance of doing a test before invest type of project, so that they don't need to buy the technology, but they can use the technology we already have as a proof of concept. But the most important thing that we found out is that no project, no innovation project can really steer away from training and from building up the skills. But this is not because the entrepreneurs are missing the basic skills to start an enterprise. It's because they are not able to dedicate the right amount of energy and time to them. These people, as I said, are head down on what brings the revenues. Imagine a company like this as a company where the general manager is often also doing the sales manager or the quality manager. And in such an environment, it's really, really difficult to steer them away from that, from the operational side of things, to talk about strategy, to talk about future, to talk about training. So what do we do with them is, we don't want to have a classical approach on training for them. We don't want to teach them anything. We don't want to transfer a knowledge to them, or not just transfer a knowledge to them, but we decided to approach training and upskilling as a result of a business analysis process. What does that mean? A business analysis is a practice that says, in order to solve a problem or to pursue an opportunity, first you have to analyze it, right? So you have to run a formal analysis on the needs of the organization, and the results of that analysis will give you a range of possible solutions. And only when you evaluate those solutions, when you do a sanity check on the proposals that you have, you can really choose the one that fits best the needs of the company, and then you can start building up the project. What we usually did in the past, when it came to training, was, okay, there is this company that is not using well their ERP software, for example, or they're not very good at cybersecurity, right? So what do? Well, we teach them how to do cybersecurity. We teach them how to use an ERP software. Well, yeah, that is good, but it leaves to the entrepreneur the burden to bridge the gap between the theoretical knowledge that I'm passing to them and the application of that knowledge to their daily operations. So what we decided to do is to follow basically two key values: empowering over teaching, and exploiting potential over adding new capabilities. Which means it doesn't mean that we don't want to teach them anything, or that we don't want to add new capabilities, not at all. But when we have tight a tight environment, few margins, small amount of time, small amount of resources. We want to work with what we have. We want to empower the people with what they already have. We want to exploit their potential before we add something on top of that, which they might have difficulties in using it. So translating that into something that is more practical, when it comes to a training project or an upskilling project in a company that we work for, we first do an assessment with them. We find out what are the needs that they have, what are the biggest opportunities or the biggest threats that there are, and then we design the process around the training. So the training is not the result of the process. The training is done just on the project. So to give you an example of a project that just ended a couple of weeks ago in a company that is nearby here in Ancona, we had a technical office of a company that was producing appliances for kitchen, so for furniture appliances. They were having an issue with the technical office because they were always late. They were using a software, but they were not using it at its full potential. And they were using their time in a way that was not, let's say, optimal. So the easy win would have been, okay, we go there, we give them some training about time management or efficiency management, and we call the people that provided them with the software, and we give them a technical training on that. So that could have been a solution, but it was not our solution. We decided to do something different. We decided to redesign the governance of the technical office. So it's not that they needed more technical training. They needed a process to run the tools that they were not able to do by themselves because they didn't have the time, or maybe they didn't have the overall holistic approach over the entire process. So what we found out was the problem was not that they didn't know what button to click in order to operate the software. It was that the software was not containing the right information, that people were not using the software for the right reason. So they were communicating a lot via telephone, for example. They were using instant messages for exchanging important information. So we wanted to stop that. We eradicated that. We trained them on how to govern their process with regular meetings, with regulating their communication channels, and so on and so forth. So the training was a result of the not. It wasn't a result of the process. It was just on the process. And yeah, that makes a lot of difference. We found out, and especially in the latest couple of years, we steered away from classical training for this, and we are providing, out of all of the training initiatives we have, the training projects we have, 18% are basic type of training. All the rest is customized.
Thank you, Claudio. I think this highlights, because we are mainly talking about education or training of young people, students, but one of the main challenges is training and educating people who are already on the job, which is a real big challenge. And thank you, Claudio, for this experience. But we now go back to education institutions and universities specifically. Marija.
Thank you, Donato, and thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this panel with these distinguished speakers. I come from Serbia, which is a developing country, as you probably all know. I completely understand the context in which we are speaking, because we are struggling with improvement of education. Recently, maybe about 15, 20 years, we actually introduced entrepreneurial education courses, basic entrepreneurial education courses at the faculties of economics about 15 or 20 years ago, depending on the university. And we are now in the process of introducing these kind of courses at the technical and all other faculties in technical and all other fields. I hope that Donato didn't invite me to participate here in order to a little bit improve this obvious gender gap that exists here. So I will try to present our experience as a developing country. As in the first panel, somebody mentioned that we have aging, the problem of aging teachers and lack of skills and competencies in this sense. We also, at least in Serbia and other Balkan countries, have I may say, two types or two groups of teachers. The ones that are enthusiastic and proactive, that are interested in learning still, so implementing lifelong learning concept on their own. And also, unfortunately, we have the other group of teachers that are not interested in this. So we have here a group of enthusiastic professors gathered around the Use IPM project, that logo and poster you can see here. We gathered interested teachers from four Western Balkan countries, so Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, North Macedonia, and Serbia. And we try to make some improvements in field of entrepreneurial education in order to improve teacher skills, but also in order to be better in the transferring those skills to young people, because we have traditional countries with unfortunately no entrepreneurial tradition. So a lot of people are expecting to get the job, not to create for them by themselves. But according to my own kind of check that I perform each year with the students, the situation is changing. Why and how I see that? Because about 10 years ago, when we started with entrepreneurial education, when I asked my students, how many of you would like to work in public sector, you can see more than 90% of raised hands. And now when I ask them how many of them would like to work in public sector, I can barely see one or two hands. So the most of them would like to be an entrepreneurs or to start their own business. So this is kind of indicator that something is changing on better, I would say. So during the project that I mentioned, we visited four partners from developed European countries in Strasbourg, Brussels, Manchester, and lovely Arezzo here in Italy. And we learned a lot from our non-academic partner what skills they actually appreciate when they recruiting and employing young people. And we also would like wanted to compare their thoughts with the experts from our own countries. So we conducted the Delphi study in order to consult preferably HR professionals and entrepreneurs to see what skills they do find very important. The most of them are already mentioned here. They fit into the entry comp framework, and we observe them as innovative skills, entrepreneurial skills, digital skills, and transversal skills. But what we find as kind of paradox is that emotional intelligence is emphasized by the most of professionals, HR professionals, but explained as still not implemented. And I think that we mentioned here motivation or self-motivation as one of very important skills that young people need to develop in order to be better in this business world, whether they are developing their own business, or they are trying to be kind of corporative entrepreneurs in some company. So on this our way, researching the best European practices and also conducting research in our country, we made certain conclusions and we created report, and we thought that we learned a lot, but we still want to learn more, and this is why this conference is very important for all of us. I can also share the experience that we gained during this trip. And we already implement something that we heard in the developed Europe, but there are also some things that were very important for us. And I will just mention here famous and fabulous Professor John Besant from United Kingdom. He's in the field of motivate young people to actually change their mindset and to be more entrepreneurial oriented. He uses his talent for writing songs and playing guitar to present the lectures. So this was very great experience for all of us. So we all wished at that time that we are talented and create songs because believe it or not, I still remember those songs that he performed for us, and this was really really great experience. We also tried to implement different kind of activities also to motivate our students because we are pretty much closed country without mobility and international experience. So for example, we met one teacher from Rio Grande Valley University in Texas, and we tried to conduct at least one part of courses together with students from this university in Texas and our students. We even have a problem with time difference, but we managed to find time slots when students can work together in teams, and this was really, really great experience. So I may say that even if we are developing country, we try to find ways and to involve more business practitioners into our classrooms, so to provide flipped classrooms and to engage more young people in this entrepreneurial field due to our, I mean, tradition, history, because we're not entrepreneurially oriented, but somehow we managed to find ways. And uh, today here and yesterday with the workshop on workshop with Donato, we really learned a lot, and we will definitely implement a lot of things when we return home to improve our teaching and to be better professors to our teachers, because this is the way to motivate them to start their own business and to be more entrepreneurial oriented.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Maria. Thank you for sharing with us your experience. Very interesting. And I'll now ask Urs. Was a very, really great experience in this area.
Thank you very much. My way through entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship education is more than 40 years long. And I started years ago as a serial entrepreneur and built up various companies and projects in the world. And at the end, when it went successfully, I've given it into the hands of the staff and of the managers. So that was my happiness to show that we could do something, that we could be successful, and to change something in the world for a better future. And then more and more, when I had experiences, 2015, I was impressed that I had once the idea that we should change the world and divide the land of the planet into the hands of human beings. And I thought if somebody is overtaking some part of the land, our globe, then maybe they could be more or could change more a responsible development to the future. And I thought as well that there are as well many entrepreneurs who are not acting responsible, and but there are not people who are not entrepreneurs who could act entrepreneurial and positive in a good change. And then I created 2015 the term entrepreneurship. And why I created this? Because I was impressed by the entrepreneurial behavior, and I saw schools where teachers have leading schools into an incredible future, edupreneurs. I saw farmers who had created new projects and new ideas, agripreneurs. I saw ecopreneurs. I have taught in Romania for big companies, several thousand staff, the management team in a direction of entrepreneurship and helped them to be as well the entrepreneurs, but not responsible for the money, but for their good ideas. And we had incredible results and heightened the revenue income several times. So all these developments then brought me in this direction to write the book, where I'm still working on. I'm not so eloquent, but I'm writing a book about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship. And I think that our world is not a good one. I think that our education is not yet a good one in this situation where we are. That we have to have something for the future of education and of our world. That this should be, should be given into the hands of people who are entrepreneurial behaving in a direction of a transformation. I say often a metamorphosis of life, that we really have to change and find new creative ways of making changes. And now, in this time, my wife is a kindergarten teacher. She then said, "Oh, look, I'm working as well with entrepreneurship in the kindergarten." And then I have with projects, and I saw the entrepreneurial skills in kindergarten children. Then I have seen that as well in other schools. So for me, it is a key competence for being better, more responsible, more resilient, all that what we saw in these presentations for a better future. And therefore, I think I'm happy if we are all working in this direction, because it needs this, because we are not in a high-end good quality. And I'm happy that Hirpo is here. Dr. Hirpo Kumbi is developing with us at the Liverpool Hope University an executive management in enterprise. And we have others in entrepreneurship. And we have others in other fields, because we see it is needed. He is connected with Eritrean and Ethiopian government, and they are doing a great job. And we see that in the southern hemisphere, there are often no needs for a future, or no possibility. No, there are big needs for a future, but no possibilities to do that over the common ways. And therefore, they all has to get changed into entrepreneurs and find new solutions for them and us. Yeah, I can't, who could speak long, but I think that's it. You know what I mean. And I give back the mic.
Thank you. Urs. It's looking before at the clouds of words and issue. I think it's a pity that we seems to agree very much on the keywords. We are all well aware of the importance of entrepreneurship education as a way of creating not just transferring skills, but creating an entrepreneurial mindset. So, the importance of teachers. I think I will take two issues which are, I think, are very important. Urs, you were very inspiring on what entrepreneurship education could achieve in terms of better people, but we need a way of measuring our learning progress. So one of the questions was about that you are transferring skills on creativity, resilience, all those concepts, responsibility, but how do we measure impact of our this one important question maybe I ask you. And then there's a specific question for Marija, but I don't know if you want to discuss over the lunch or the coffee break, or you want to answer immediately about the role of the European Training Foundation on improving, of course, entrepreneurship education in the Western Balkans. But I think the question of how we measure our program is important. I don't know if it's or Measuring. How did you measure the
It's clear, I can say it in one sentence. See the outcomes, the results, and of the results, and that not that when we have the same situation or for
So I would ask another question then based on that, because if you want to talk about measuring the success of entrepreneurial skills, because I did a survey with my students recently, the younger ones, and I said, what do you want to be when you graduate? And you know what the top answer was? Influencer. So then my question is, if you have a popular OnlyFans account, does that make you a very successful entrepreneur? So, but I think ultimately, if you can easily find a job, I would say that the success of your entrepreneurial skills is already a good one. It's already measured quickly, because then you're not depending on a piece of paper to say you are good at what you do, but you are able to communicate that confidently and clearly to a potential employee. So for me, that is the best measure of how successfully you can take on entrepreneurial skills.
I think we also have the important aspect of how to give credentials about this. Will be one of the issues that we will discuss. I don't know if there are going back to Maria.
Yes, I think what I would like to add on that is something that we found fascinating. It's that entrepreneurial skills were highlighted regardless of the sector and the field. So I don't know if it's about measuring specifically how entrepreneurial skills end up on a specific outcome, but it's the combination of outcomes at the end. Because I had, actually in the coffee break, I had a very interesting conversation with a colleague from Ukraine where she was explaining me about this very interesting startup that it's on health and AI. And the key of the success of that startup, it was based on the university giving the methodology, the organization, the leadership mindset to the students in order to reach the main outcome, which is developing the startup itself. So even that the startup is, yes, it's a business, but it's on a specific sector, which is health, is the combination of the two things that tell us that entrepreneurial skills are successful. So it's not about let's evaluate entrepreneurial skills and measure them. It's more to how they are combined with other ones and spot those ones that can give us a hint if they are working or not.
Thank you. Maria, I know that there are several universities in the Western Balkans. You were saying there's very good programs in entrepreneurship education. So
And referring to the question, I didn't say that we have no experience in developing entrepreneurial skills. We do, but unfortunately not enough, or this is still the field that is reserved for a smaller number of teachers, which is probably the reason why we are lagging behind the developed European countries. And yes, we have some technical faculties that are very successful in their projects and defining strategies and all other things. But we are also from the faculties of economics, which our group of teachers come from. We are also trying to apply for different projects, and I may say that Faculty of Economics from Niš, which is the less developed part actually of Serbia, when we observe the Serbia as a country, We have 4 currently running Horizon Europe projects, which are oriented somehow to entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial orientation. But also we have, fortunately, still large group of teachers that are not interested in improving their teaching skills. For example, we had a free of charge course organized at our university that is called EMI, which means using English as a medium for teaching. And only small number of teachers applied for this course, and it was very useful for learning which kind of tools and techniques can we use, not only for teaching in English, but for teaching in our own language as well. But how to actually attract students' attention and how to involve them into the teaching process, to not be only passive learners, but active participants from which we can also learn during the education process. That was what I had in mind, and I hope that we will change that this in the years to come.
Thank you, Maria. Julian mentioned that I don't remember exactly the number. Is more than 80% of universities are running courses on entrepreneurship. I think this is true not only in advanced countries but in almost all countries. Entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship education is a fashionable issue from decades now. So all universities in Italy and in other countries have courses on entrepreneurship. They try to involve students. Uh, the problem is that most of them are like extracurricular activities, or it's just one course on entrepreneurship on how to make a business plan. The real challenge is okay. That's okay, and it's a good idea to have programs or courses addressing the typically 10% of students who are eager to be an entrepreneur. But the real challenge is entrepreneurship education for all the students, transferring the skills and attitudes that we were discussing. And to do that, you have to involve teachers. That's in our experience is a much more challenging endeavor. As Maria said, not all teachers, not all professors are eager to change the way they teach, and so this I think is, as also Giovanni said at the beginning, training, addressing the teachers is the real challenge for the teacher, at least for so I thank you all. We were supposed to, unless there are a few other questions about what. Yes, it's about yes. But it, this is a very very old. I remember this old question more than 20 or 30 years ago when I started being involved in entrepreneurship education. The question was, can you teach entrepreneurship? Huh? Is it something that you can teach? I think the question is something like this. Can you transfer those skills, the typical entrepreneurial skills, by teaching, or you have to? I think I don't know if you have the answer. The answer, in my opinion, is yes. You have to. You may teach, but you have to change the way you teach those skills. So, what we were saying before, you have to innovate the way in which we involve students in a more active way, not just hearing a professor transferring knowledge. But if you have,
Yeah, basically, there is a difference between a tailored approach on training and training by doing. Training by doing is implying that you're doing something. That means there is already a process defined. There is already some competencies at least by somebody, and then applying those competencies, other people can learn, right? Looking at the execution of the work. In this case, we are not talking about execution. We are still one step ahead. So we are still talking about the process, which is which comes before the execution. And to the second part of the question, if there is a way to measure or indicators that can measure the impact of this, well, when you start a training project in a real working environment, that question is something you answer at the beginning. So you are starting the project because you are looking for a benefit out of it. So the benefit realization is the measurement of the success of the initiative. So only when, if you don't do that at the beginning, you will not have the ability. Well, first of all, the initiative will not have success, most probably. And second, you will not be in the position of measuring it. So it's imperative that before you start doing anything in the project, you know what are the expected benefits, how you want to measure them, and when they are going to be realized by the project. So that's something you answer beforehand, not after.
I saw one question, and I would like to ask the person who posed this question to let me know later after this panel to communicate, because I'm not sure if I understood well. But the question was the connection between entrepreneurial skills, developing entrepreneurial skills, and mental health of young people. So I would like to know whether this person had in mind the problems actually that are becoming obvious in the last few decades, when we know that IQ or rational intelligence has been increasing, but unfortunately some research confirmed that emotional intelligence has been decreasing, which can be a problem of young people. And maybe this can be also the reason or the problem or the challenge in providing the connection between developing entrepreneurial skills and mental health of young people. So we can discuss after this panel. So this is just like a short answer to the question, and whoever asked this question, we can discuss after this panel.
One sentence, less than a minute. No, not only for young people, as well for for all people, it is as well developed, not only for young people. Yes, as I said, it's not only for young people, it's for people of all ages.
Okay, let's continue. Thank you very much. Thank you to the panelists. It was a very interesting discussion. I hope it was also interesting for you. We have the lunch at the foyer, not this one, a larger one on the first floor. So you have to go down by stairs this time, with the elevator. There are people helping us. So lunch is ready on the foyer. Thank you very much to you all, and please be on time. Don't lose yourself. Don't and be on time for the afternoon session.